The American Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, was the most devastating conflict in the nation's history. More than just a military clash, it was a test of political will, industrial might, and social ideals. While the causes of the war lay in decades of political and moral conflict over slavery and states' rights, the fighting itself was shaped by the resources, leadership, and strategies of each side. From the war's first major battle at Bull Run to its bloody turning points at Gettysburg and Vicksburg, the story of the American Civil War is one of determination, transformation, and ultimate Union victory. Let's get started. At the war's outbreak, the Union held significant advantages. It had far greater industry and manufacturing, enabling it to produce weapons, ammunition, and other supplies at a much faster rate than the South. The North also had a larger population, about 20 million people compared to the Confederacy's 9 million, of which about 3.5 million were enslaved. Another crucial advantage was transportation and communication. The North controlled about 72% of the nation's railroads, making troop movement and supply delivery far more efficient. The Confederacy, however, had strengths of its own. It boasted well trained generals, many of whom were graduates of West Point with combat experience from the Mexican American War. Southern soldiers generally had high morale and enthusiasm, motivated by defending their homeland. The South also had the home field advantage, if you will. Most battles were fought in the South, giving them familiarity with the terrain and allowing for shorter supply lines. After the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter in April of 1861, the two sides were officially at war. The first true test came 3 months later at the First Battle of Bull Run, also called the Battle of Manassas, in July of 1861. The Union expected a quick and easy victory, but Confederate forces under General Stonewall Jackson stood their ground. The Union Army was driven back and forced to retreat to Washington, 25 miles away. With nearly 1,000 deaths total, Bull Run shattered any illusions that the war would be short or bloodless. It would be a long, costly, and deadly war. The Anaconda Plan, devised by General Winfield Scott at the start of the war, was a plan that called for a naval blockade of all southern ports to cut off supplies and foreign trade, much like an anaconda squeezing its prey. The hope was to force the South into a quick surrender. The second phase of the four-phased victory plan for the Union called for the Union to seize control of the Mississippi River, splitting the Confederacy and securing a key supply route. This goal was achieved in 1863 under General Ulysses S. Grant, whose victory at the Battle of Vicksburg earned him command of all Union forces west of the Appalachians. The third phase called for total war. Union General William Tecumseh Sherman took the war directly to Southern civilians as well as soldiers. In his march to the sea, Sherman destroyed railroads, factories, and cities, aiming to break the South's will to fight. This was an unprecedented use of modern warfare at the time. The final phase targeted Richmond, Virginia, the Confederate capital. On April 3rd, 1865, Union forces under Grant captured the city. Confederate President Jefferson Davis and his cabinet fled, and fires engulfed parts of Richmond. Days later, on April 9th, 1865, Robert E. Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, ending the war. After the Emancipation Proclamation, Massachusetts organized the famous 54th Regiment, one of the first official black units in the Union Army. Other states soon followed, and in May of 1863, the Bureau of Colored Troops was created to oversee enlistment. By war's end, 1 in 8 Union soldiers was black, most of them formerly enslaved. Despite discrimination, including lower pay, $7 a month compared to white soldiers' pay, and assignments to menial labor, black soldiers fought with distinction. 21 black soldiers received the Congressional Medal of Honor for their bravery. Historians debate the exact turning point of the war, but July of 1863 stands out. That month saw two major Union victories. In Vicksburg, Mississippi, the Union secured control of the Mississippi River, splitting the Confederacy in two and cutting off vital movement. And then there's Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the Union's first victory over General Robert E. Lee. It forced him to retreat and ended his attempt at strategic offensives into Northern Territory. The cost was staggering. Over 51,000 men were killed in just 3 days at Gettysburg, making it the deadliest battle of the Civil War. The Civil War was fought with vastly different resources, strategies, and visions for America's future. The Union's industrial might, population size, and strategic military planning eventually overcame the Confederacy's skilled leadership and home field advantage. But victory came at a tremendous human cost, more than 600,000 dead, and it left the nation to grapple with the equally challenging task of reconstruction and reunification. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.